Hello and welcome. This is Sadhusman. Using variables and DAX formulas can help you write more complex and efficient calculations. Variables can improve performance, reliability, and readability of the formulas, and at the same time, they can reduce complexities. We can write complex expressions inside measures. However, these measures make the code difficult to read and edit later. Variables help in reducing these complexities and improve readability. And variables can be defined at three levels: in measures, in calculated columns, and in table functions. Let's discuss through an example. Whenever we want to use any variable in formulas, first we need to declare them. So let's create a new measure, and we are going to declare the variables first. Let's call this first formula as variable formula1. In order to declare a variable, we need to use the standard var statement. Let's call this random1, and let's give it a value of 10. Let's declare another variable random2 and declare its value as 20. We can continue with these var statements until we are done with all the declarations. Once we have done all declarations, we have to complete it using a return statement, and the return statement will give the result of the variable declaration. We can choose either to use one or more or all of the variables. On the other hand, we can also choose to not use any variable as defined earlier. For example, I can declare the result as 50 and get the answer. Let's put this formula in the visual and get the value. So we can see that my result is 50. But I can also choose to use variables in my formula random1 plus random2. Random1 plus random2 will give me an answer of 30. We can also choose to declare another variable, and let's call this variable as result. And now result should be equal to random1 plus random2. So a variable can also depend upon other variables declared in the same statement. So we can just choose to return the result, and our answer will be the same as 30. And I can also make it a little bit more complex. So random 2 times 2 is 40 and plus 10 is 50. So we get the result as 50. So this is how you can apply simple variables in a simple formula. Let's go on to another example. Let's call this variable formula2. Let's declare the variables as alpha. And in this variable, I'm going to nest further variables inside this variable. Let's say, for example, variable alpha has another variable called bravo, and whose value is 10, and another variable as Charlie, whose variable is value is 5. The return statement for this is bravo multiplied by Charlie. And once we are done with this variable, we can continue to declare more variables inside our original variable formula2. We can call this delta and give it a value of 5. And the final return statement could be, let's say, alpha, my first variable, divided by my last variable as delta. So in this case, the first alpha will be calculated. The value of alpha will come from line number 5, which is bravo multiplied by Charlie, and it will give me an answer of 50. And I will then divide 50 by 5 to get my final return statement of 10. My answer will be 10 here, and let's put this value in the canvas, and let's give it a card visual, and now you get an answer of 10. So this is how you can also nest variables one inside the other. Now let's move on to another example, and now let me show you that when the variable is defined, its value only lives until the return statement. Once the return statement is done, is given, the variable finishes itself, and we can use the variable name again in the same very formula. Let's create another formula, variable formula3 equals, call this variable alpha again, and in this alpha, I'm going to nest further variable bravo equals 10, variable Charlie equals 5. The return statement would be bravo times Charlie. And Since I have already provided the return statement in line number 5, the values of Bravo and Charlie are done over here. And we can use these variables again in my next line. For example, if I use the word Bravo again and give it a value of, let's say, 5, and my final return statement would be alpha divided by Bravo. So in this case, the alpha variable will be calculated by multiplying the value of 10 by 5, and I'll get the answer 50 over here. And then the Bravo will now become 5, and this 50 divided by 5 will give me 10. Now, if I put this formula on the canvas and get the same answer, now we get the same answer as 10, and you can change the values and also see the effect. Let's say, for example, if I change this to 100, my answer is 100 because 100 times 5 is 500, and 500 divided by 5 is give me 100. So this is how you can nest variables one inside the other, and you use and reuse the values of variables inside the same formula. Now let's take a look at another example. We have a simple table here in which product-wise and brand-wise sales of current year and last year are shown. And I have calculated the year-over-year sales growth using the long formula as well as the short formula. Let's look at the long formula without using any variable first. You can see that I have divided the numerator, which is total sales minus the last year's sales. And last year's sales I have calculated using the calculate function and the same period last year function. So this will give me the last year's sales, total sales minus last year's sales divided by the last year's sales will give me the year over year sales growth. And I've called this sales growth long percentage. I can get the same result using variables. Let me show you the formula. I have declared this variable sales value as the total sales. I already have a measure in my data model which calculates the total sales. And for last year's sales, I have used the calculate function, and I have to do it only once because I can declare this and store this value in this variable last year's sales. And as a return statement, I can provide the sales value less last year's sales divided by last year's sales. So I don't have to reuse the same big formula calculate along with same period last year in my return statement. And as I can use the shortened variables for my result. And now you can see the answer is exactly the same. So it's better to use variables when you have to work on complex formulas. It will improve the readability of the formula and enhance its performance as well. Now let's take a look at how you can use variables inside calculate columns. In the sales table, I want to calculate the discount on the sales which are made on Fridays. And for this purpose, I have already calculated a formula. I have used variables inside this formula. I have declared one variable as discount, and I've given the value of 0.1 or 10%. In DAX, you have to define the percentages in decimals. So it's 0.1. And I have also declared another variable called day name, in which I want to calculate the name of the day of the week from this date column. So I formatted that, and the return statement is a simple if function in which it says if the day name is Friday, give me a discount by multiplying the sales column, which is this, with the discount percentage, which is declared at 0.1, otherwise give me a 0. So you can see that if I filter all non-zeros, you can see that in the date column, we already have all the Fridays available. So this is how we can apply variables and calculate columns. We can also apply variables and the table formulas. Let's look at example. We already have a calendar table in the data model in which I have used the variables. I have declared variable start date as 1st January 2015 and end date as 31st December 2022. The return statement is I have used the add column function along with calendar. And in calendar, I've defined the start date and the end date, which I've already declared in line 2 and line 3. And using the add columns, I've added multiple columns inside my table. So this is how it increases the readability of the formula. I can simply go and choose to change this, let's say to 2014. If I change this, my data automatically updates itself. I can easily change the values of the variables inside the formula, and accordingly my table will get updated. So this is how we have summarized the use of variables in 3 areas: in measures, in calculate columns, and in table functions. I hope you would have enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.